Alright, so this is how we're going to do this. You're only going to listen to the sound of my voice. So, don't bother looking, because all you're going to see is brake lights and headlights. Because that's what the deal is. What you're going to do is, you got your chicken out. Alright? And you brought it to the sink. You got a metal bowl. Put cold water in it. You slice the chicken open from the package. Put it in the cold water. Throw the package away. Be careful not to drip all over the floor, or else you have to clean the floor in between the sink and the garbage trash. So, with that being said, carry the plastic over your hand, throw it in the trash, walk back to the sink, rinse your hands off. You know, the first step should have been to get a hand towel and wet half of it and put it into your waistband, so that way it's an apron. You wipe your hands off on that. Well, with that being done, now you got your chicken in your bowl, you got your cutting board out, you got your knife out on the countertop. Before you start cutting up that chicken, you get yourself the large frying pan, set it on the stove. You go to the cabinet, you get your olive oil, virgin olive oil, extra virgin. I like extra virgin, it's fine. Now, you're going to put a small layer that fills up the circumference and the bottom of the pan, about 1/4 inch. After that's done, turn your handle into the stove, to the back of the stove, so that way you don't bump it and knock that oil off on the floor. Now, after you've done that, you get yourself another metal bowl. You crack 3 eggs in it, or 2 eggs to start. Take out the shells. Whisk it up with a fork or a whisk. Then you get yourself a small glass cereal bowl, porcelain, it's fine. And then you get yourself the breadcrumbs out of the cabinet. If you don't have breadcrumbs, go to the store and buy some. Now, you're going to fill that bowl halfway with breadcrumbs. And you're going to set it next to the bowl of eggs that you whisked up earlier. Then you take your fork, if you haven't already, over to the sink, rinse it off, put it in the small side of the sink. That way you can clean it easier later. Now, wiping your hands off on your apron, you head back over to the cutting board where the chicken is. Hold the chicken a long way and slice it down the middle and set it on a paper plate that you got to get from the cabinet. That way your cutting board does not get filled up with chicken and you have no room to cut the rest of your chicken. So after your chicken's all sliced down a long way and you got thin strips in your paper plate, set it aside, go to the sink with the cutting board and the knife, rinse those off, set those in the small side of the sink. Then, after that, you get yourself an 8 by 11 or a 9 by 13 flat cookie sheet and put some non-stick aluminum foil with the cloudy side facing up on that pan. Then you go in the refrigerator and pick out the bread that you want to put on the pan, croissants, biscuits, rolls, whatever it is. Follow directions on the label. And keep label for instruction purposes on heating and time. Then roll up your croissants if you have to, or put your biscuits out on the pan. Set the pan aside. Then what you got to do is you go in, pick out your vegetables in the freezer, microwavable bag, or whatever you got. Go to the countertop in the pantry, set that on the counter next to the microwave, and leave it aside for now. Next step is to take a strip of chicken. After you take your pan from heating from 3 to 5, you take a strip of chicken and you dip it in the egg, put it in a breadcrumb, roll the strip around, and then lightly, gently place it in the oil. Do not drop in the pan or else you will splash in the oil and you'll burn yourself. Next thing to do is as you get a couple strips in, maybe 2 or 3 strips or 4 strips in the pan, after you dip them in the egg, roll them in the crumbs, put it in the oil. When those are cooking, you get yourself a little pair of tongs. So that way, when you got the tongs, you can rotate the little piece of chicken in the oil, roll it over until it's cooked. And then after they're cooked, which they'll turn to a golden brown, you then take it out and put it on a paper plate that has folded paper towels on it to absorb the oil. So if you don't have the plate with the paper towel on it, do that before you start cooking your chicken strips. And then after you're done, right about towards the end of your chicken strips, if you got like 3 or 4 left, you preheat the oven to the direction of the degree that it says on the label. Check the oven, make sure there's nothing in there, because you don't want to melt anything that might be in the oven. Be it a plate, a pot, pan, whatever. If there's nothing in there but racks, if there's nothing in the oven but oven racks, then preheat it to whatever the specifications is on the label for the croissants or the rolls. And as you do that, then read how long you got to put them in. And after you read how long, then you wait for the oven to go beep, 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 and the preheat light to be lit up. That tells you the oven is ready for you to insert your rolls or croissants into the oven. After the preheat light lights up and it beeps, place them in there on the lower rack. Close the door. Set the cook timer to the allotted time on the directions. After you do that, then you also pay attention to the last pieces of chicken in the pan. Don't let them burn just because you're busy doing something else. Then, after you're done with that, you go and you read how long it's going to take for your vegetables to cook in a microwave. Usually 4.5, 5 minutes. Which means when you start the rolls, when the rolls have 4.5, 5 minutes left, you turn the microwave on for that allotted time for your vegetables. So that way the bread is done right about the same time the vegetables are done. Now it's important. If the bread rolls beep first and the vegetables beep second, leave the vegetables in the microwave. Get the bread out before it burns. Shut the oven off. Put the pan on a pot holder on the counter that has space, not on the oven. That way you don't burn the counter. Don't forget to use the pot holder to take the pan out so you don't burn your hand. And then after the pan's out and it's set on pot holders and the bread is cooling off, close the oven, shut the light off, shut the oven down. Then you can go to the microwave, open it up, make sure you have a plate, put the microwave bag on the plate, bring it over to the rolls and let it settle down there. Then make sure you get back to your chicken pronto so you don't burn your chicken. And then when the chicken's done, you add those to the rest of the chicken that are in the plate and shut the pan down, let it cool down, leave it on the stove, and then get the table set up. Knives, forks, spoons, dipping sauce, placemats for the food, for the paper plates, napkins on the side, cups for drinks or iced tea bottles if that's what you're doing.